Welcome back to the Lights Out podcast, bedtime stories for boys and girls around the world. Good evening, boys and girls. Are you ready for bed? Are you all snuggled up and ready for another Lights Out bedtime story? Good, because you're in for a treat tonight. And tonight's story is called Sydney, Stella and the Moon by Emma Yarlett. Once upon a time, Sydney and Stella did everything together, feeding the quacks. Stella had a lot of fun with Sydney, and Sydney had a lot of fun with Stella. But there was one thing that Sydney and Stella did not do together. I wonder what that could be. Oh yes, Sydney and Stella did not share. And this is where our tale begins. It's mine. No, it's mine. No, it's mine. It all started when Sydney would not share his bouncy ball. It teetered from his fingertips, flew towards the open window, and did what bouncy balls do best. It bounced higher and higher and higher until it was so high it could touch the moon. Smash! The moon broke into 1,000,000 pieces. Sydney and Stella were horrified. There was a big blank space in the night sky. But maybe nobody would notice. Nobody would notice the moon's sudden disappearance. In the morning, they crept downstairs and slowly opened the door. Sydney and Stella knew they were in big trouble. Oh my gosh, look at this. It was all over the news. The moon had completely vanished. There was only one thing for it. Sydney and Stella had to put things right. They had to find a new moon. They searched high and low, but couldn't find anything that could take the place of the moon. Tired and hungry, Sydney and Stella took a break. And while Stella tried to think up a new plan, Sydney decided to have a cheeky snack. And guess what he found? Glowing cheese in the fridge. A new moon, slightly nibbled. And Stella had just the thing to ping the new moon back up into the sky. But then Sydney and Stella came across an old problem. I wonder what that could be. Oh yes, Sydney and Stella did not share. Sydney and Stella took the new moon and their skipping rope, and they rushed outside together. They set up the catapults, pulled back the cheese, and then bing! The moon sat snugly in the night sky once more. The end. Wow, that was a great story about Sydney and Stella, whose bouncy ball bounced higher and higher and broke the moon into 1,000,000 pieces. And so what did they use to fill the spot? They used glowing cheese, and they had to do it together by sharing. What a great book. And that was Sydney, Stella and the Moon by Emma Yarlett, here in the Lights Out podcast. Bedtime stories for boys and girls for when it's dark.